year-old son. My son's name is David. David is, as I said, 35. I know what stress is, and I'm sure you all do too. So today I'd really like to dive in to talking about some ideas and some suggestions that may be able to help you deal with stress. We all deal with stress in many different ways. So I'm hoping that today we can come up with some ideas and suggestions that I can share with you all. I'm going to be asking some questions, so I'm going to ask everybody to participate during that. But this is just a way to try to talk about stress, because the one thing we as moms do is we don't take care of ourselves. So that's probably one of the top things, is we do not put ourselves high up on that list to take care of ourselves. We are the caretaker. We take care of everybody else. We need to learn how to take care of us, because if we do not take care of ourselves, we cannot take care of our loved ones. So that's what I'm really hoping that we can do today, is give you some ideas and some suggestions that you can walk away with, some little tidbits of things to learn to take care of yourself. Even if you walk away with one thing from this today, I will be eternally happy with that, okay? So I've got the PowerPoint now, and we're going to, when I stop for questions, I'm going to drop the PowerPoint down, so hopefully everybody can turn their cameras on so I can see everybody when we're doing some questions later on. So with that said, all life experiences the stress of ordinary life events. We deal with births of children, deaths of our loved ones, friends, things like that, loss of jobs, moving. These things all can cause stress. For parents of children with special needs, if your child was born with a disability, right then and there, day one, there is a huge stress in your life because you're not sure what's happening. But we all experience some sort of stress in our lives in some way, shape, or form. It's just how we deal with it. Some things are big things for some people, and some stress can be good stress, and some stress can be bad, but some cause us a lot of tears. And those tears may last for years, but it's how we're going to learn how to deal with the stresses so that we can kind of live with them and be happy. All parents experience the stress of parenting in general. Whether you have a child with a disability or not, we all deal with stress in some way, shape, or form. We worry about the growth and development of our children. We worry about our children's physical safety. As parents, we have similar priorities, whether your child, as I said, does or does not have a disability. We worry about them. I also have a 28-year-old who does not have a disability, and he stresses me out more so than my son with a disability because of the things that he wants to do and how he wants to live his life. And it's kind of like, there's an extra stress, because everybody always said to me, David, my son with a disability, would be the death of me. And it's like, oh no, it's my atypical kid that is the most stressful thing in my life at this current point in time. Okay, we all want our children to be happy and healthy, so we worry about making sure that they are able to grow into happy little healthy people and then adults. So these are some of the things that you're going to worry about. And we, right now during COVID, which is the truth, we are definitely worrying about our children's emotional well-being. Our kids have experienced a lot. We too, as parents, have experienced a lot. And it's hurting us to watch our children go through what they're going through, of not being with their friends and how they have to play with people now. We are dealing with a lot of physical and emotional stress. So I want you to really think about that. It's just not basic stressors now. We're dealing with other stressors in our lives. Extraordinary parenting responsibilities create extraordinary pressures on parents. Okay, we all wish we could be a Superman or a Superwoman for our kids, but we actually all are human, and it's how we're going to deal with stress.
You know, hopefully.
So parents of children with special needs, we act as many different roles for our children. We act as their case managers. We act as their nurse, their therapist, their advocate, their teacher. We have many different roles that we fill for our children and our whole family, wife, friend, sister, brother, you know, whatever. We have a ton of things that we are having different roles for. Okay, I could add probably 30 more to this list, but these are some of the things. So as you're hearing me read these things, think about some of the roles that you play. Think about some of the things that you have to do on a day-to-day basis for your family, okay? And as I said, yes, this is for parents of children with special needs, but try to take away some tidbits also for your non-disabled kids as well. Parents often feel plagued with feelings that they should always be doing more, okay? We're always trying to research a new therapy or medication, making another phone call, whether it's at home or when we're on the run, in the car, you know, on our cell phones. We're always advocating for an important program or something for our children. There's always going to be something on the list that you feel like you need to do. And it all seems equally important, okay? Every day you're going to try to get all these things done, and it's creating this stress over and over, day in and day out. We tend to think that if we can just get everything in one place, we can sit back and relax. But we all know services and resources, they're not in one location. They're in multiple agencies, multiple places, multiple phone calls you need to make to find out about things. So it's not just the fact that it's one-stop shop. Wish it was, but that's not reality, okay? It's a marathon, not a sprint that we're trying to do. A person's daily life is made up of many different moving parts and variables. These variables will consistently change. We must become proficient in adapting with these changes, but it's how you're going to do it. At the same time, parents often are feeling many different things. We have no formal training as how to raise a child, okay? There's a huge lack of quality daycare out there. We feel homebound and isolated, especially now during COVID, okay? That is a huge thing. We have little time to maintain our own health because, again, we're always doing something for other people. We have limited time for our other children, too. If you have other children, you may not be spending the time that you need to with them because you're trying to do other things for your other child. And we have limited time to maintain a healthy relationship with our spouses or significant
They're too
others.
loud, Sarah. Thanks.
Remember when I mentioned all the responsibilities parents have, plus the new roles some parents have added to their resumes? You know, advocate, teacher, nurse, doctor, whatever. If that wasn't difficult enough, we have many different obstacles that pop up along the way in our daily jobs, okay? So there's always something else that's going to pop up. As I said, try to write something down. Think about other roles that you have. There's always something else that's popping up that you can say, oh, add that to the list of something now of what I have to do now on a daily basis. You, like me, may have noticed that there's no manual that comes along with raising a child with special needs, okay? There's those Dr. Spock books out there. You could read 1,000,001 books, but with the thing that we have to remember is we live this 24/7, 365. So to try to find a manual out there, it's impossible to do that as to how to raise a child with special needs. But we all need to do this together. And the one thing you need to remember is you're not alone, and that's what other people are out there is to try to help. And you need to learn how to take care of yourself because you do matter. You are priority, okay? Which is very, very important. We should use, we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves to go to the doctors. And here, you know, prior to us starting this webinar, we were talking that, you know, I think I might have my kidney stones are acting up and everything like that. And everybody's like, oh, somebody else might need to take over the webinar. I got this. And why? Because I'm not addressing what's going on with my need. Okay, I know there's a ton of things when I leave here that I have to do with my son. So I basically said, you know, well, if it gets worse, I'll take care of it later on. But should I have done that? No. Okay. And am I condoning that other people do that? No. You need to make sure you're taking care of your health, your priority, so that you can take care of your loved ones. So probably after this webinar, if things are still progressing with me medically, I probably am going to go to the doctor because I know what it is to have kidney stones and they hurt. Okay, so we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, okay, in that aspect. When I say we have limited time with relationships, that's with your spouse, and sometimes we forget because we put so much priority on taking care of our children. You need to remember you have a relationship. You need to maintain that so you have a good, healthy, whether it's a marriage, a relationship, a significant other. You need to try to nurture those as you're nurturing your children so that you can have a quality relationship. It's very important, and that means you taking care of yourself, you setting aside some time for you and your significant other to go out to dinner, go for a walk, whatever you need to do. You need to think of these things. I've been doing this for a very long time, and there's a family that I know that they would eat dinner at 10 o'clock at night. And that was their time. When the kids were in bed, everything was done at the house. 10 o'clock at night was when the two of them would sit down and have dinner just to maintain their relationship. Then they would probably go to bed by 12 o'clock at night. But that was their time. That was every single night. That's what they did to maintain their relationship, to have that healthy relationship, which is so important because we love our children, but you got to remember who you were before you had children. It was you and your spouse first. Then the children came. Then the stressors came. You've got to bring it back to that so that the two of you can become a united front. Okay? So it's very, very important that people remember you were a person, husband and wife, before you had children. You got to maintain that relationship so the two of you can work together to lessen some of the stress to deal with the kids. There's always going to be a problem when a child is diagnosed. All the attention is focused on helping the child. We've all been there. We've all done this, okay? We worry about our kids, especially when you have a child who is born with a disability and or diagnosed later on in life. But the one thing I can say as parents, a worried parent does the best research, better than the FBI, okay? I am so impressed over the years to see how much parents have learned and continuously learn, and the research that they're able to do for their children, which is phenomenal. Keep in mind, 29 years ago, when I had my, 35 years ago, but I've been doing this for 29 years, we didn't have some of the things that there is out there today for families and things like that. We didn't have all these internet things. We didn't even have cell phones. We had beepers and stuff back then. But we are concerned about our children's well-being, and we all will find different ways to find good information and good research. But it's also making sure that you're taking care of yourself. You can't always go crazy with all the research. But when you're worried, you're going to research. And sometimes maybe that is what helps somebody deal with their own stress. I'm not sitting here trying to say don't do, but what I am saying is try to remember what can cause you stress, because over trying to research and research and research, and you may not be finding the answer that you want, can cause more stress. Now, I'm going to stop for a second before I do this slide, so I'm going to bring it back. I want to ask a question, and I'm going to ask Kara or Jen to kind of help me out here before we go into the next slides. I want to know, do you, in your personal life, have somebody that you can speak with openly and honestly about your parenting challenges? So when you're struggling with your child and life in general, do you have somebody that you can go talk to? You can tell me yes, no, whatever you'd like. And Jen, I think I'll leave the screen just like this if that's okay.
That sounds fine. So we're getting a lot of responses in the chat that says yes.
Good.
Which is wonderful. We love to see that.
And see, there are some times where, honestly, people don't have really anybody that they can talk to. So I am so excited to hear that you do have somebody to talk to. But the thing that we all have to remember is sometimes we need to have that one close person that we can talk to be really honest about things. And I'm going to share something with you.
So we do have one person who said no, because when I do try to go to my family, they tell me, but you're doing a great job. And I think that this is something that is important to address, because a lot of times when you do talk to other people and you are the only one who has a child with a special need, people don't necessarily know what to say to you.
Right.
Having a child with a disability is such a unique experience that they want to let you know that you're doing the best you can with what you have, but they don't necessarily know how to respond to you without making it sound like, you know, oh, poor you. So
Right.
it's important to reach out to people who have similar experiences. And I'm sorry that you don't have anyone out there that you can reach out to that does have a similar experience, but there's resources out there. Definitely reach out to your community.
Well, and that's the other thing that I wanted to share is that underneath Parent to Parent, we have a parent matching program. So we have parents who might want to match up with somebody else. So we match a parent with another parent with a child with the same or similar disability to talk to about that emotional support, which is very important. So if you're interested in that, let me know. But as somebody who's been there, when my son was little, he had behaviors. And I got exactly, and I'm so glad that you read that, Jen. You know, everybody in my family saying, oh, you're doing a great job. Well, nobody knew what was happening behind my walls, that my son was coming home every day at 3:15, hitting, kicking, spitting, and biting. And who was he doing it to? Me. I was afraid to say anything to any friends or family because they're going to think I'm this horrible mother. You know, I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to be judged. And one day I ran into this woman and she started to talk about her son and the things that he did. And I'm sitting here and I'm actually getting goosebumps rethinking that, because that was a huge thing for me to find somebody else who was honest about what their kid was doing. And she said it, and she was just like, this is life. This is reality. And to hear somebody actually say it out loud, I was like, I'm not a bad mom. I'm a good mom, but this is what's happening in my world and I need help and I don't know how to deal with it. So I didn't want to feel ashamed anymore. And I went over and I grabbed her hand and I thanked her for sharing that piece, because I didn't have anybody else I could honestly share that with, because they didn't understand. They just kept saying, oh, you're doing a good job. Well, come on over to my house at 3:15 every day and see what's happening, because it's not fun. And it was a lot of stress every single day. And Saturdays were worse. So I'm glad that you shared that, and we definitely can try to help you if that's something you're looking for. So Jen, is there anything else? Any other comments?
Yeah, there was a couple other comments in there as well. We have one that says yes, but they don't always see things as we do. So the support ends up being a bit of a distance from us, and that makes me hesitate the next time I need them. And okay. We had another comment that says yes, because it's so needed. However, sometimes it needs to be from different people. And that is definitely a very good point.
That is a huge good point, because everybody has a different way of looking at things. So you get different perspectives, and then you decide which one you want to accept. So that's good. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if we're okay, then I'll continue. Jen?
Yep, absolutely. You're all set.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So I'm going to do that a few times, ladies and gentlemen, and any other questions or comments, just type them in and Jen will read them. So I really appreciate her doing that. So thank you. So the reason that I'm asking these kind of things, you know, is what has you stressed out? There's a lot of different things that have us stressed out, okay? The most common stressors that are reported from parents is the worrying about the future, difficult behaviors, increased financial burdens, finding services, and then disagreement between parents, okay? If you've got something else that you feel should be added to this list, please tell me, because these actually came from surveys from parents that we asked many, many years ago, that these are the top ones. They still are to this day, but if somebody's got something else, please let me know. Finding services, sometimes finding the right support systems for our children, involves trial and error, okay? We may have to remove certain services, add different ones, or even change the way services are being delivered. Also, where it's being delivered or by whom. So trying to find services is one piece, but then it's the when, where, who, how, and locations. It's not easy, okay? And right now, still during COVID, it is so hard. We are struggling to try to maintain our children. We're struggling to maintain their services. We're struggling just with OPWDD and to get all the supports that parents need back in place, okay? I definitely can understand where people are really struggling with stress services. And Jen, I'm not sure, I'm hearing some voices. So disagreements between parents, this can happen in every single family, whether you have a special needs child or not, okay? I love my husband to death, okay, but he would go to work sometimes from like 5 in the morning till maybe 9 at night. So I was dealing with all the discipline with my son, and then of course when I had my other son, I was the disciplinarian, okay? And I'm the one who got the 315 daily stuff, okay? But when he was home on the weekends, he would be trying to say, well, we should do this and we should do that, and discipline my son totally different, and be like, hold up, back up. We need to talk about this. I didn't want to argue with him, but we needed to sit down and discuss that Monday through Friday, I have a certain way of doing things. And then you're here, on Saturdays and Sundays, not that you're home during the week, but you're home after the kids are in bed. We need to talk about how I deal with discipline and how you deal with discipline and how we can put things together. Not just come in and say, well, you shouldn't be doing that. This is the way it should be done. That created a lot more stress, okay, for me. My husband didn't see that right away. He's just kind of like, well, I'm dealing with the discipline and I'm here and I'm able to help my wife. No, because I knew that was just going to create more stress for me during the week. So it's very important that you try to sit down and talk to your husband, your wife, your significant other about how to deal with discipline. And you can also be arguing over finances or whatever the case may be. I've learned over the years, and I've been married, we're talking over 30 some odd years now, is the fact that we sit down and we talk. We talk about everything. There is no more of this arguing stuff back when we were younger, in the younger days. We sit down and we discuss something. So if there's something going on with finances or, finding services, when my son needed services and things like that, I talk to my husband about it. I kind of say, well, this is what I'm feeling. This is what's stressing me out. And he really helps me through those things. So trying to see if you could sit and talk to your significant other does kind of help. It's that relationship thing that you're building, and it's helping them understand what might be stressing you out, because they might have some really good ideas and viewpoints. So I kind of always make sure that I sit and listen with my husband. But this picture here is a real scenario, okay? And this picture is one of my coworkers, and she's, of course, given us permission to use this. This is her son. And, well, that's her daughter, actually, caught in the chair. But she was pregnant at this point, and her son was diagnosed with autism and kept climbing in and out of the crib. And as she says, 22 times that he would be climbing in and out of the crib. He was 2 years old. So she's like, you want to talk about stress? 22 times he climbed out, 22 times I put him in. And then the 23rd time he got out and got his head stuck in the chair. You think he ever climbed out of the crib again and did that? No, but it's the stressors. These are the things that are everyday life. You can't make this stuff up. These are things that happen at home. Now she can, of course, laugh about it, but back then she's like, just the stress of being pregnant and having him do this over and over and over. And then he gets his head stuck, okay? So Grandpa had to come over and help get him out. Of course, they thought it was hysterical. She's freaking out more so, but it's these little stressors that happen in our life. Everything ended up good. He was fine. But, as she said, that just created more stress for her than what she needed. But she also realizes that her son didn't understand. He just thought it was fun climbing in and out of the crib 22 times. And I said to her, do you really know that it was 22 times? She goes, oh, yeah, I counted. So it was like, okay. So it's these little everyday things that create more and more stress for us, okay? So while I'm going to keep talking, Jen, I'm going to ask, we don't have to do anything. I'd like some people just to type in the chat box, what stresses you out? Okay, so just type some stuff, and I'm just going to keep going on and talking. All stressors are not created equal. stress can be delivered into three primary categories. You have internal stress, you have external stress, and you have psychological stress. These three categories of stress are very different from each other, but they work together as an efficient team. This means that as parents, we have to be strategic and committed to conquering this team of how we're going to deal with the internal, external, and psychological stress. Sometimes they'll work together, and it's how we're going to make them work for us. Internal stress is the enemy within. You have to deal with people's perceptions, beliefs, expectations, and attitudes. All of these stressors are you're putting on yourself, okay? We are definitely dealing with, it's how you're psychologically dealing with somebody's perception. I'm the worst with that. You know, when my son was little, people would judge me and they would stare at me or whatever the case may be. And I would respond back, so take a picture. It's going to last longer than we are. Probably not the best thing, but I'm going to be honest, I was young. But it was those perceptions that people had of me. And then these expectations, oh, you can handle this, you can handle anything. Well, nobody knew that at night I'm sitting on the corner of my couch in the total darkness crying. You know, everybody says, oh, you're such a strong person. Again, it's how we all have to learn how to deal with this stress and help ourselves. Okay, these are all stressors that we can control. We can control these particular ones. It takes a lot of practice, and nothing is going to happen overnight. It's going to take time to learn how to do these things. You've got to want to help yourself to learn to do these things. And then there's strategies for coping with internal stress, managing the reality within. And here's somebody staring at themselves in the mirror. It's like, what's inside of me? Who am I? Trying to remember you're an individual. You were an individual before you had children, learning how to deal with the stressors of your life. So there's many challenging beliefs, okay? The stress or failure of your child depends entirely on you. We put a lot on us that if we don't do things for our kids, they're not going to be able to make it or do something. We put everything on our shoulders. Other people must see me as a good parent. I'm able to handle everything. Like I said, everybody said, oh, Tina, you're such a strong person. And I work with parents constantly. And we all try to put on that great front that we're strong. And yeah, we can be strong when we have to, okay? I should always deny my own needs for rest and recreation in order to help my children. You're putting other people first, and the whole point of this presentation is making sure that you learn how to take care of yourselves. These are things that we all do. I'm sure that not one person on this presentation today can turn around and say that they've never done that. They've never denied themselves of things and put other people first. They have. We are always constantly putting people first and foremost. And it's selfish of me to spend time and energy on myself. I can't really change my life. I just am who I am. We need to remember that we're more than that. We are able to do things, okay? Parents tend to beat themselves up. That's what we do. We tend to beat ourselves up. We may say things like this on a regular basis to ourselves without even realizing it. I have done some of these things to myself over the past years. I literally am running myself into the ground for my family. And I'm not just saying my husband and my children, my sisters, my nieces, my nephews. I do this all the time. And the word no was never in my vocabulary. I never would say no. If somebody says, I need help, I'm there, I'm doing. But it's at a cost. It's coming at a cost of me and not being able to take care of me, which then I struggle to take care of my family when they need me, okay? Let's imagine this, okay? So let's imagine your best friend called to vent to you about their day. They told you about their day, which was full of things that you experience on a daily basis. Would you ever say to your friend, it's selfish of you to spend time and energy on yourself, or you can't handle anything? I bet you would never say that to somebody. You would respond with certain statements of, you know, we need to replace the statements to positive ones. I can do this. Tomorrow is another day. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You're going to be sympathetic. You're going to be understanding to your friend. That's what you need to do to you, because sometimes people don't understand our lives. but yet you're going to be there for your friend and you want to help them get through the stress that they've got. So try to make sure that you learn how to get through your own stress. Developing realistic expectations. And sometimes some of us have some very unrealistic expectations because we think we can do it all and we can't. We have unrealistic expectations, and they can be, they lie in the root of burnout, okay? Saying, I can do it all. When expectations are not met, our first thought is often, what did I do wrong? I have done that to myself over and over of going, what did I do wrong? Where did I make a mistake? Which turn did I do that was the wrong thing? Okay, I have beaten myself up with that, and I'm sure many of you have as well. We need to develop realistic expectations for both your child and for yourself as a parent. What can I do? What can I do? We need to remember the goal is progress and not perfection, okay? You need to remember that no parent or child will ever be perfect, okay? Including you and yours, no matter how hard you try. I am far from perfect, okay? And I've had to say that to people because people are like, oh, you know, you must be so special, you know, for this to be something happening in your life. Everybody has their own belief on that. I don't like to think I'm special. This is who I am, okay? And I'm not living in a fantasy world. This is the real world. It's how I've had to learn how to deal with things in my life over the years. Just prior, I mean, I did not get married with to my husband that I'm currently married to now, my husband, because I got pregnant. Then I certainly did not want to get married because now I have a child with a disability. Then we finally did get married 3 years later. Then about 6 months prior to my wedding, my house burned down. So you want to talk stress? And it was like, this is the real life, and I can never live in a world, you know, that is a fantasy, because this is the real McCoy that is really happening. And I've always said to myself, you know, I'm just going to try to strive for the best that I can do on a day-to-day basis, but nothing is perfect, because if I had the perfect world, none of these things that have happened to me would have happened to me. You need to try to start to catch yourself making those negative statements. Remember how I said we probably all say them, but we just don't realize it. You don't realize sometimes the things that you're saying. You just kind of say it and move on. You got to pay attention to your self-talk, okay? You got to stop putting yourself down for the mistakes and imperfections that are just part of being human, okay? I now have embraced the word no. So when people say, Tina, can you do it? Nope, if I'm busy, I can't do it. You know, if I don't have the time to do it, I have to say no. And I'll say no, but maybe I can do something for you next weekend or something like that. I've had to learn to make myself a priority so that I can make sure I take care of my family, okay? So that is something that's very important. On top of the stressors of your life you're experiencing, you're adding additional stressors in what you're telling yourself. Try talking positive to yourself. Telling yourself you did a good job today, or you can handle that. You handled that tough situation very well. We talk horribly to ourselves all the time, and occasionally you might say, "Oh, great job, Tina," you know, to yourself. But you need to start to learn to do these things constantly. Okay, stand in front of a mirror. You know, I don't know about any of you, but some of you may be professionals also that wear a dual hat, a parent and a professional. But prior to me working in this field, you know. And then, of course, when I landed the job and I had to do presentations, I was absolutely, totally nervous, okay? I had to stand in front of the mirror and talk so I could feel like I was confident with what I was saying, watch how I looked, you know, making sure I wasn't making any funny little faces. And I kind of said, I'm trying to be somebody I'm not. This is who I am. I'm not perfect. I'm going to do the best that I can. My last name, Beauparlant, means beautiful speaker. I married into the name. This is me. I am very real. I am who I am. Okay, I'm not an eloquent speaker or something like that, but I try to make sure that I know, and I've learned over the years, I make mistakes every day. I am not perfect. I am a human being, just like my family. We are all living, breathing human beings, but I've also learned to tell myself it's okay that I make mistakes, because each time if you make a mistake, it's a learning opportunity. And isn't that something that we teach our children, that from every mistake, there's a learning opportunity? So we need to try to remember that to teach our children, but we need to teach ourselves that first, okay? So give credit where credit is due, that you are doing a good job. Tell yourself that you're doing that good job, okay? Tell yourself that you handled that tough situation great. When you go to CSE meetings, when you walk out of that CSE meeting and you did a great job, walk out, say to yourself, I did an awesome job. I advocated appropriately for my child. We got the services that he or she needed. Tell yourself that. Don't go home and get in the car and go, oh my God, I should have asked for this. Feel comfortable and feel happy and good about yourself for what you did accomplish, okay? For some people, those are huge milestones, but it's how you're taking care of yourself and saying, good job, okay? Because sometimes some of us would never turn around and say that we did a good job. We don't speak those words.
Tina, I wanted to take a chance really quickly to point out some things that are happening in the chat. There are several participants who are credentialed family peer advocates with New York State. And
awesome.
There's a conversation going on in the chat about how family peer advocates, one of our core things that we do is we teach our families how to take good care of themselves, because you can't take good care of your families if you're not taking good care of yourselves. But as family peer advocates, that seems to be the one area that we don't do for ourselves, is take care of ourselves as advocates, but yet we teach that skill to our families. And it's kind of an interesting dichotomy. So there's lots of conversation in the chat box about taking time to teach our families about those skills, but not taking time to give ourselves that same grace about taking time to really take good care of ourselves as family peer advocates. So I wanted to take some time to point that out in the chat box, that yes, it's so vital to take care of yourself, because you know, you can't take care of other people if you're struggling as well. So it's so vitally important, as Tina said, to take some time and tell yourself you are doing a good job. You really are.
Think of and thank you, Jen. That's wonderful to hear. Think of yourself. Think of you got your family first and foremost, but think of your job and these families that you're assisting as an extended family. You need to take care of you so that you can do a good job for those families. You don't want to burn out. So I'm glad that people are realizing that in the chat box, and they're talking about it. You have to take care of you. You can't just be teaching it. You now need to model it to other parents. Okay, show them I am taking care of myself, and I'm going to show you that in a little while, because I've been being really open and honest about things that I've done to myself, and I think that's the truth that people need to realize is, you know, we are our worst enemies. So I'm glad that that's happening. But I do have another polling question, Jen, that I would like to put out there for people. So if they don't mind adding some information in the chat box, I want to know from everybody. Do you ever use positive affirmations or mantras to help you get through tough moments? So you could say yes, no, all the time, whatever you want. I just want to know. And Jen, if you wouldn't mind letting me know what the results are.
And I'm actually going to turn it over to Kara to answer these. So.
Okay, thank you.
So Tina, it's looking like people are saying they look at Pinterest, they have them all around them. There was one person who shared, I know what they are, but they don't use them as much as they should. And again, some more affirmatives, they have them all around. One person typed, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. I think there's a lot of that everyone is trying to do.
That is awesome. Okay. So again, I'm going to be brutally honest. Thank you, Kara, for reading that. I really appreciate that. So ladies and gentlemen, I probably was the worst person that never used affirmations and mantras. Didn't think it would work for me. Okay. But it did. Several years ago, I started to do it. Somebody said, just try it, Tina, just try it. And I was like, all right, what can it hurt? It's putting some Post-it notes out. It's saying some things. It does work. Okay. I have My husband laughed at me, okay? I said, hey, what works for me may not work for you. I have little Post-it notes on my mirror in my bathroom, just little ones, okay? I change them out once in a while, but practicing positive thinking and daily affirmations really can be a huge help. But you got to start slowly if it's something that you're not sure that will work for you. So try it. I even have little things in my office now that I have down and stuff like that. So it doesn't hurt to give it a try and things like that. So letting go of what I cannot control celebrates my courage, okay? So that is a positive affirmation, because you know what? I can't control everything all the time. And what I can't change everything all the time for my son. And that's what bothered me when he was younger. I so much wanted to change things. I wanted the world to be different. I wanted people to treat him different and look at us very differently. But I had to learn that I can't change everything, so I'm going to celebrate different things. It's not going to be this way forever. This is life. Things are going to change, and either people are going to change or I'm going to change, okay? And I'm not sure how I'm going to change, whether the better or for the worse. We'll have to see. But I have changed for the better. If you met me when my son was little, 35 years ago, I was the most quiet, mousy person you would ever want to meet, and I'm not joking. I think I referred to myself as the human doormat. People would literally wipe their feet all over me, in a sense, you know, and they'd say, jump, and I'd say, how high? Having my son 35 years ago helped me find my voice. I'm grateful for him every single day. I'm grateful for the things that he has taught me. I'm grateful for the person he has made me. He's made me find my strength. He's made me find my voice to be his voice, okay? So there's very positive things that you can find to say, I'm proud of being his mother. I'm proud of who I am today compared to who I was before in the past, okay? What's on the other side of this awaiting me? Great things are going to happen, and my son has had some wonderful things happen to me, okay? So it's how you're going to use positive daily affirmations to help you. Life doesn't have to be perfect to be wonderful. My life is far from perfect, but am I happy? Yes. And you guys need to think about that. Is your life perfect? Is life ever going to be perfect? Probably not. But are you happy? Is it a good life? Yes. And that's what we need to remember. And don't believe everything you think. Sometimes we overthink things constantly. So trying to find some positive affirmation and putting things in your bathroom or in your kitchen, whatever you want to do that where you tend to be more so you can see some things, practice saying them. Stand in front of the mirror and practice saying these things to yourself is going to help you. You don't need people to see you. You can just close the door, stand there for a few seconds, say these things. But you want to try some of these positive affirmations. I say to myself, I am a good person, because I've had so many people over my years of doing advocacy say to me, and this is friends and family that have said to me, Tina, you've changed. You become a hard person. I'm not a hard person. I've changed because I've had to learn how to advocate strongly for my son, strongly for my families. I am a kind-hearted person, and I'm not a hard person. But when I advocate fiercely for my families. You know, I look at them no different than what I would do for my son, I'm going to do for that family. So I say to myself, I am a good person. I don't care what other people think. I am a good person. I'm a kind-hearted person. I love my job every single day. Okay, so I have these little things that I say to myself constantly, and it does help. And there's one thing that I say to myself is, I am not going to let somebody judge me today. And I say that every day, and I've said that for the past 10 years, that I'm not going to let somebody judge me because something happened in my life many years ago that it really created something that psychologically really bothered me. So that's something that I had to learn to say to myself. So it's learning to let go of the things over which you cannot control by trying to say positive affirmations to yourself. You can only control certain things in your world, and that's it, okay? And then there are certain things that you can control. but you've got to try some of these things. Now, I want you to make sure that you are appreciating yourself. And I'm going to bring it to that comment that Jen said that is in the chat box, where as the family peer advocates are realizing, yep, you're learning how to take care of yourself, but you need to learn how, and you're teaching the families, but you need to take care of you to take care of them. So appreciate yourself, appreciate the things that you do on a day-to-day basis. It's far too easy to take ourselves for granted. Stop taking yourself for granted every day that I can do this, I can do this. You need to appreciate who you are. Learn to appreciate your worth and your value. What do you bring to your family? What do you bring to your job? The knowledge, the expertise that you have, the knowledge that you have of families and how you can pass that information on to other families. Remember that. Appreciate what is in your head. We all are on this webinar or Zoom today. We all have different knowledge bases, but when you put it together, it's a lot of information. So remember what you're worth and your value. Acknowledge the good you do for families, friends, the community, and yourself. And the family peer advocates, you need to remember that, because you are out there every day helping families. We all are every single day. You need to acknowledge that. Appreciate yourself, okay? Realize that each one of us is talented in our own unique way. Appreciate your own special skills. We all have those, okay? Appreciate them. Say that to yourself. I appreciate me for everything I bring to the table every single day, okay? Sometimes it's hard, okay? We already deal with enough things, so it's hard to deal with some of these things, and sometimes our skills is perseverance. So many parents have trouble identifying their special skills. Help the parents realize their special skills, okay? You probably have many more of these skills than what you think, and you need to let them know that. You might need to help them find those skills, okay? If you have to ask someone what they're good at, you know, because they might not be able to sit there and tell you what they're good at. So you're going to be like, tell me what you're good at. You might have to try to pull it out of them. I'm sure your family and friends would be happy to tell you what you're good at, what they see, but it brings it back to that person who said in the beginning of the presentation, her family says to her, well, I'm doing a good job. Yes, but that's not the kind of what you're good at you want to know. You're good at, you know, cooking. You're good at cleaning. You're good at making lists. You're good at, you know, finding resources or whatever the case may be. Those are the things you want to hear that you're also good at. Not, well, you're doing a good job. We know we're doing a good job. We're trying to keep our heads above water, but you want to hear some other things. And, you know, when you're struggling and everything's really hard, you just want to try to remember tomorrow's a new day. Just don't forget to appreciate yourself today. And managing your child's special needs can be very emotional, and it's draining. It totally can drain you. So here's just two little pictures. If plan A didn't work, the alphabet has 25 more letters, okay? And then how deep is the mud? Depends on who you ask. So here's two dogs, a big dog and a little dog. It really is going to depend on each of our unique situations, okay? We all handle things very differently. Acknowledging and working through your negative feelings, that's something we all have to first make sure we can understand. How do we deal with these things? As I've already said, communicating with your spouse or partner, developing a support network, that is a huge thing. You need to make sure you develop a support network, okay? Relying on positive sources in your life. When you have somebody who really is a good friend and you know you can go talk to them and let out your honest feelings, that is a huge thing. You want to make sure you cherish that person, okay? And sometimes you may need to seek professional help, counselors, therapists, whatever the case may be. There is nothing wrong with that. I know some people don't like to say that they go see a therapist or they go see a counselor. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? It does help. That's what they're there for, okay? You don't want to deal with, you know, your pent up emotions. The simple act of disclosure will help relieve stress. So what I mean by that is there might be times where you want to sit and write out your emotions too. Okay. I've done that. I've even gone to therapy with my other son who, you know, my typical 28-year-old who was pain in my butt, because he was, you know, I didn't realize that he was struggling because of his brother. You know, you spend too much time with David. You spend more time with David. You don't do things with me. Well, we were struggling to get along, and we went to counseling to help our relationship. So that's what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with counseling. I'm not ashamed of it. Did I have all the answers? No. But did it help me deal with one less stress? Yes. Knowing that we could go to a counselor and things like that to have somebody else look at our situation and our relationship and going, are we wrong? Are we right? What's the deal here? And it helped both of us understand that we're coming from the same place, but how do we build our relationship? And I had to learn I'm his mother too. I cannot be worried about David every second. I have another child that I need to spend time with. And I said that to all of you in the beginning of the presentation. Okay. So recognize what you can and cannot control. The only real control you have, okay, is basically your own thoughts, your own words, and your own actions. May your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears. This is really all we can control in life. And when I had to learn that this is what it was, I was kind of like, yep, this is pretty much all I can control, okay? And I'm a person who, in my world, I need to have control, but I've learned how to deal with it going, yep, I can control my choices of how I'm going to do things and react. I can control my own thoughts and my own words and my own actions. I cannot control how other people are going to be towards me or in situations. But as long as I can control this, I'm all good. And I've had to learn how to deal with that. It's taken a long time to make sure that, because sometimes our brains go faster than they're ticking, you know, and then we just go, bleh. So I've had to learn, think, process, then talk, okay? And that's when my son was much younger. So it's very important that you need to know that you cannot control every situation. This is what you can actually control in your world, and this is what you're trying to teach other families, but this is what you also, as family peer advocates, need to remember that you need to learn how to do for yourself. And I'm trying to make sure I'm keeping track of time. Okay, we're doing good. Okay, so now we're going to talk about external stressors. And these are huge. We're dealing with school, about your child's program, okay? And family peer advocates, you're trying to help families deal with this, okay? Coping with difficult behaviors, all right? And this is another picture. You know, I love this. I don't know about any of you, but my son used to climb in the fridge. He used to also climb in the cabinets and hide, and then I'd find him with the Cheerio box, okay? Educating neighbors and relatives about your child's special needs. Helping siblings understand their brother or their sister's special needs. Financial pressures, and working with your spouse on the child's management and discipline. Kind of, I told you before, these are some of the stressors. I had to deal with my husband on some of these things. I've had to deal with neighbors living next to us, and I'm sure you all can relate to that. You know, you live in a neighborhood, you think your neighbors might be great, then you have a child, and then things change. I had a neighbor that lived next door to me that, what's the saying, out of the mouths of babes, and kids don't understand things unless they hear it from adults. That a little boy came to the fence and was playing with my son, Ronald, and came up to him and said, why is your brother the R word? And I still to this day, I don't like to say the word, the R word. And my son did not understand what that was. And he came into the house and he's like, Mommy, you know, so-and-so wants to know, why is David this? And I stood there and I was like, where did you hear that? Why did he say that? And he's like, well, Kenny was asking me that question. And I was like, okay. So I had to go next door and talk to his parents, because the parents, the kid would never come out with that word. He was too little. I mean, you're talking a 5-year-old, okay? So we had to address that situation. I was cordial with my neighbors, but that was about it, okay? To know that's how they felt about my son, the fence went up, okay? We're not going to see you anymore if that's how you want to deal with. helping my own son deal with, you know, the pressures of having a brother with a disability, making sure that I've had to learn how to spend time with him and things like that. You know, these are some things that we have to deal with that are external stressors. You know, our kids, our non-disabled kids are going to school. They might have friends that might say something or ask questions. I've learned I'm not going to have any more of these stresses. I'm going to learn how to deal with them. So when my son would have friends over, we would talk about it if they had questions about his brother. You know, why does he not talk correctly or things like that? And why does he, you know, look a certain way and things? I would answer any questions, and I would teach my son that this is who your brother is. And if people have questions, educate them. And he was very, very good with that. There's also programs out there that are like, I think they're called SIB shops, where the kids with non-disabilities can go and learn about having a sibling with a disability and to be able to help them cope with certain things. So these are just some of the external stressors that we're dealing with. And this I thought was kind of interesting, you know, where somebody's parking into handicap parking spaces. My own dad had a handicap parking thing that we could use. And you know what? If he could walk, I would say, Dad, you really don't need that spot. I know when you're driving yourself, but if I'm here, I can help you, so we're okay. But it bothered me that, you know, I see people every single day that use the handicap parking spaces that don't belong there. And I do go up and I do say something, and I have some people say some very harsh things to me, but I don't care. You know, that's stress that somebody now has to deal with because they can't get a spot, okay? More external stressors often involve relationships with others. And relationships is a huge thing for all of us in our everyday lives, okay? It's the keys to one's ability to successfully manage external stressors. Strong communication, problem solving, and organizational skills, okay? So external stressors, an example could be parents are meeting with their child's teacher, which we count as an external stress. Maybe dad is a little worried, but mom may be very, very happy about the situation. Both of these parents are experiencing external stress, although in different ways. Dad's happy, dad's worried, mom's happy, but it's how they're dealing with their own stress and how we're showing it, okay? Honesty, be honest with yourself about how you're dealing with these stresses, okay? And I think communication is a huge thing as to how we deal with external stresses. When I get really stressed or upset about something, sometimes I just might bust out laughing. And people are like, oh my God, like you're laughing about this. That's how I have to deal with it right then and there. I just have to do it real quick, get it over with, and then I can move on. But to other people, they don't understand that. But that's how I might deal with sometimes stress. I mean, my son fell and chipped his tooth. I can't deal with blood. I can't deal with these things. So when I saw it, I was like, okay, I busted out laughing. And I was like, okay, now we got to deal with this. And my son goes, Mom, you laughed at me. And I had to explain to him, nope, wasn't laughing at you. That's how I could get through the stress besides crying. But it was dealing with the external stressors that were going on around me, of him bashing his finger into the wall and then chipping his tooth at the same time. You'll find a way. Strategies for coping with external stress. So here's some things that you can try to do, okay? Describe the problem with a specific statement sometimes. State how it could be better. And think about how you can use this information in everyday life, but you might be using more of this when you're dealing with your care coordinator. You might be using more of this when you're dealing with the CSC, and you could be using it when you're dealing with your spouse, okay? Determine what is keeping it from getting better. So the situation, whatever is happening, what's keeping it from getting better. Try to propose solutions for things over which you have control. Remember, there's a lot of things that we do have control over, and what could be the solutions to that control. And plan actions with specific achievable goals. So I always now have a specific plan for something I'm going to do. I will take this list. I will think about it, whether it's my family or another family. So it's how you're going to deal with things. So let's use a kid in school where they're struggling with, the parents are dealing with the IEP and they're not sure what they want and things like that. So we're going to describe the specific situation as to what's happening. Here's a statement. How could this be better? Well, I want my child to be in a general ed classroom, for at least part of the day. That's what I would like to see happen. The evaluations show that it could, yada, yada, yada. Determining what is keeping it from getting better could be the fact that the teachers aren't sure how to do this. They might be a little afraid. The child has some behavior, so everybody's a little unsure as to if it's going to work or not. And the possible solution for things is we don't know if it's going to work or not work, so we've got to try it, and we can do it on a trial basis. But it's how you're going to articulate that so that you do have the control over how I'm going to propose this, how I'm going to articulate it, and how we can put a time frame on it. That's the piece of control that you do have on the possible solution. And then the achievable goal is the child is placed in that environment with parameters so that we all know what we're going to be working on, okay? And then we've achieved a specific goal. We do it every single day, we just don't realize it. Being assertive, standing up for your decisions. And remember, I turned around and told you all I used to be the human doormat, okay? Used to be me. No longer am I the human doormat, okay? Assertiveness simply means expressing your feelings and letting others know your beliefs and your opinions, okay? To become assertive, you need to speak up, disagree with others when you believe differently, and it's making sure you do that politely and respectfully, saying no to unreasonable demands, learning about your child's needs so you can be an active participant in meetings. These are things as parents we need to learn to say, to do, to take care of ourselves, but it's also an advocacy skill that you need to learn how to do as well, okay? So I'm not saying be rude to people. I would never say that, or be pushy or be overbearing, but you need to say how you feel about things, and that is taking care of you. You don't want things to fester inside of you, and if you disagree with something, there's always a polite way to say, you know, that's your opinion and you have your beliefs, but here's my opinion and my belief, okay? Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. Again, it's how you are going to be able to be assertive and stand up for yourself around certain parameters. There are some people who say, in my world, and I'm sure anybody on here who deals in educational advocacy, I've had people say to me that, you know, they're like, you know, you're borderline aggressive. And I would be like, well, no, I'm very assertive. I'm a very assertive person. And I've had school district people say, you know, that they feel as though I'm borderline aggressive. And it's like, I'm really not, but if you'd like to know what aggressive is, I can accommodate that. But I am being very assertive. I am stating to you what my son needs, why he needs this, or why this family needs this, why I'm advocating, because I guess they don't understand what being assertive is. But this is what being assertive is, okay? So speak boldly and with intellect, never hush your voice for someone's comfort. Speak your mind, makes people uncomfortable. I do not mean to make anybody uncomfortable. I like to speak what I have to say. It makes me feel good now that I've learned how to find my voice since my son was, you know, little. I'm not ashamed of anything that I have to say, but I will think before I speak, okay? So you really want to make sure that you are assertive and not aggressive, okay? I never want to see anybody be aggressive, because once you become aggressive, the doors go up. It's not a good thing, but there is being assertive, but I don't like to see parents be passive. And it's also making sure that you are taking care of yourself. You're taking steps that you can make decisions, and you are able to do these things and appreciate what your abilities. Time management, I'm sure we all have to deal with this, okay? This is one of the downfalls for a lot of us, is time management, okay? There's never enough time in the day, okay? But we all need to try to figure out different things. You need to define your limits, okay, when you say no. Simplify your life, develop routines, set short-term goals, and prioritize them. Delegate when you can. Become an expert organizer. Wouldn't that be great if we all could do that? Okay. And live by a list. All right. I do live by a list. I like to write things down, and I like to cross them off so that I can see that I actually accomplished something. Otherwise, I would feel like, you know, I've got a ton of things to do during the day, and then I don't feel like I got anything done. I literally prioritize how much time is in the course of the day and what I can get done. Okay. So if I have a lunch hour and I need to make some phone calls for my son, I might only get one phone call in, but one is better than none, okay? I literally try to now split myself between my son, my husband, my 28-year-old, of course, does not live home anymore. He's out on his own, but at least, you know, I'll talk to him. But I write a list up of things that I have to do. Call my son, call a therapist for my other son, you know, make dinner, do this, do that, make the doctor's appointments. I am prioritizing things, but it still is very, very difficult, okay? But on that list, you need to make sure you're adding something to do for you. Remember, this is all about taking care of you. So don't have the list down of everything else for everybody else. You need to add something on that list to take care of you. Because if you don't add something to that list, you're not going to take care of you. So psychological stress, diet, exercise, rest, recreation, things that we do not do for ourselves, okay? Children with special needs often require an exceptional amount of energy from us, okay? In order to replenish energy, parents need to be sure they get sufficient rest, eat well, balanced meals, and exercise vigorously. Now, I'm going to turn around and tell you that I've had to learn how to do this. I would not take time for myself. We're probably about 8 years in, 9 years in, that my son wanted to join the gym, okay? And I was like, okay, so I'm thinking, all right, we'll join the gym, and he'll work out and things like that, because I'm thinking, where am I going to find the time? But I was working out with him, and I actually enjoyed it. I used to work out long time ago, and that just kind of went away. But we joined the gym, we started working out, I started to enjoy it, I started to feel better about myself, because my son did not want to be near me. Your mom, I don't want to be near you, I want to go over here. So he would go do his thing, and I was like, all right, I'm still going to work out. I still work out to this day. I don't do sugar anymore. I found that going to the gym, and this is just me, you might find your own passion, so I'm not saying you got to go to the gym, but I am saying it was an idea. I would go and I would be able to zone out, go in my own little world. This is my time, Tina's time, okay? I would do kickboxing. I would punch the punching bag. I would do weights. I started to do personal training. I started to participate in, events, exercising events and things like that. I started to eat better. I started to feel better, sleep better. I didn't think any of this would be possible. And oh my God, it was great. And, my son was doing well as well. He was meeting new people at the gym. Sometimes he would want to come work out with me, but it was my health and my well-being and my sanity. And you don't realize how much the gym can do. Even if you go and you do a treadmill or go for a walk, I don't care. Your sanity can be there. And because I live with it, a child with a disability and working in the field, you really want to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And those family payer advocates out there that were saying, you're teaching the families, but you got to remember yourself. You need to take care of yourself, and you will have a whole different mindset as well, because I noticed that the more that I was working out, the more I started to be able to see things a little bit clearer at times, because I didn't have like a fuzzy head with all these stressors in my head anymore, okay? So it's just ways to take care of yourself, but it does work, and I enjoyed it, and it helped me not to feel so overwhelmed. Strategies with coping with psychological stress still is get physical, as I said, get rest, have a good laugh, okay? Sit with a friend sometimes, just sit, laugh, okay? How often do you do that, okay? That's really, really important that we do that we sit with other people, okay? So before I do that, I just realized I went on to my next slide. So I'm going to ask one question. So Jen, if you're okay, I'm going to ask another question for people to type in. I want to know some things about all of you. I want to know what challenges cause you the most stress. And I want to know, is it education placements? Is it your perception of your family and friends? Is it future plans or your child's friendships?
All of those are excellent questions. And while people are chatting in, I wanted to share that there was some great conversation in the chat during your presentation. So a lot of people like to make lists. there was some good conversation too about assertive versus aggressive communication. With a lot of people saying that assertiveness is such an important way to communicate, especially with schools, because schools are such a vital part of our kids' lives. It's so important to speak up and to be heard. Let's see. With the list, some people say that they make lists, but they go backwards. So they write things that they've already accomplished so that at the end of the day, they have a list of things that they've done throughout the day so they can get that sense of accomplishment, which I think is amazing.
It's a great idea.
I love that idea. I think I'm going to start doing that, including feeding the cat, which I thought was really cool. So back to your question, time management is a psychological stressor, dealing with everyday life, lack of transportation for my adult son, so future planning.
Okay.
Time management and feeling like my plate is overflowing with responsibilities. Oh my gosh, so true. Ability to be independent and accomplish his goals as an adult, my child's future. Navigating systems and knowing what's available for our children is the hardest part. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And the ability to take time for myself.
Awesome. I love it. And remember, this is all about you learning to take care of you. Okay. If we can't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of our loved ones. So this is about you taking care of you, and all of these things that you're writing in this chat box, you know, you got to learn how to take care of you so that you can do these other things. So we're going to kind of talk about some of that. So thank you, Jen.
Yeah. And there was one other quick comment that I wanted to jump in and share with regards to adult services. And it's especially when those systems are broken down into silos and trying to figure out which system will work best for your child. So that's absolutely one of those stressors. So thank you guys for sharing. That's absolutely wonderful feedback.
Yeah. And that point, which system is going to be the best system for their child is what they were asking. That is one of those trial and error things, because we don't always know. Somebody might say it could be mental health, it could be OPWD, it could be something. You don't know, so it's trying to figure it all out, and just that alone just creates a ton of stress. So I'm excited that you're all adding different things, but I'm hoping that, you know, maybe down the line we can all talk and figure out how to help you with other things and matches and that kind of stuff, so that you will learn how to take care of yourself, so that you can take care of these huge things that are creating stress. Okay, so we're talking about, again, like I said, the psychological stress is making sure you get physical, you get that rest. You know, I'm not going to sit here and preach and say, oh, you got to get 8 hours of sleep, okay? But you can't be going around on 2 hours of sleep every day, because I do know some people have said, oh, I only get 2 hours of sleep a night because I'm researching everything. You need a little bit more sleep than that for yourself so that you can think clearly, to making sure that you get that rest. And there's no harm that, you know, if you just want to sit on the couch for 5 minutes, sit on the couch for 5 minutes, okay? Nobody's going to kill you. The load of laundry isn't going to go anywhere. The kids aren't going to jump out the window. Take some time for yourself once in a while and get that rest, okay? And as I said, have a good laugh, okay? It's so important to try to connect and get together with your friends when you can. But if you can see each other, great. If you can't, on the phone or a Zoom, okay? But having a good laugh sometimes just makes you really feel good. I'm not one of those, you know, people that laughs a lot, but when I do, I do. And, you know, over the past several weeks, you know, there's been some really things that I've just been busting out laughing about, because just some strange things. And I actually had what we call like a belly laugh, and it was absolutely hysterical. And you know what? I felt really awesome after that. I was like, hey, I feel really good. And everybody's like, just because you laughed? I'm like, yep, I do. Because I had other things that I was dealing with, stress that nobody knew, and just that laugh made me feel good. Playing, you know, making sure that you have time for play. Give yourself permission to take time off. If you don't want to clean the house, you don't want to do the dishes, sit on the couch, go in the yard, go for a walk. Give yourself permission to do that, It's okay. Things aren't going to run away. Okay? Relax, deep breathe, you know, guided imagery, meditation. I've tried meditation. I can do it for so long. That's a little bit harder for me to deal with the meditation, but I do yoga. And when I do yoga, you know, there's some that meditation involved. So I'm like, learning how to put it in more into my world a little bit with the yoga. So I'm finding different ways, and these things are all helping me very much so. So here underneath the caption of the picture, it says, a diamond is just a piece of charcoal that handles stress exceptionally well. So coal turns into a diamond, and which is very, very strong. It's the strongest gem in the world. So you know what, ladies, we are strong, but we need to make sure that we take care of ourselves first before we take care of our families.
Tina, I wanted to share very quickly just one of my own coping strategies. So we have 5-minute dance parties at my house.
Nice.
So when the stress gets overwhelming and I seem to have too much going on, I flip on 80s music because I'm a child of the 80s. And me and my son just have 5-minute dance parties. And he knows the 5-minute dance party is coming when I say, okay, it's time to flip on the music. And he's like, woohoo! And he starts dancing around before the music even comes on. So we have 5-minute dance parties at my house.
I think that is awesome. I really do. It's just something that it's your own thing. So see, ladies and gentlemen, that's something that you could do at your house. Like, here we go, 5-minute dance party. It's awesome. Just do it. Try things. Thank you for sharing that. I really, really do appreciate that. I've got some more things that I'm going to ask people to share about in just a little while, but I will always want to make sure I'm keeping track of my time here. So do you have any more, Jen, you want to share?
Yeah, there's quite a few that have shown up in the chat. So another coping strategy is sharing funny TikTok videos with friends, watching pet videos, Stephen Colbert, other comedians, using mindful meditation from YouTube at bedtime has been helpful for when they're having trouble sleeping. Educational, funny TikTok videos with children is fun. And doing Saturday morning cleanup and blasting music and digging in the dirt. Yes, gardening season is here.
And that is extremely therapeutic. Some people do not understand that, but digging in the dirt is very therapeutic. Hey, I used to make mud cakes when I was a little girl, and my mother told me that I used to eat them sometimes, so I don't know. But digging in the dirt is great. So what we're going to do is I'll continue. We'll stop because I'm going to have more things for you guys to add. So I want you to begin to think of yourself as a person. Remember, you were a person first and foremost before you had children, who is worth a moment of your time, okay? It's not whether you get kicked down, it's whether you get up. So remember that. You're a person first and foremost. I want you to start to think about to create a you list, okay? Think of yourself for once, as I've been saying through this whole presentation. This is about you. This isn't about everybody else. This is about you. Rediscover yourself as you remember who you are and what you like apart from your children. And I know some of you are probably like, I can't even imagine that. Well, guess what? Try to do it because this is about you, all right? Make a list of things that you enjoy doing and put that list on your bathroom mirror so that you are forced to look at it every single day for a while. Try to do something from that list every day and make a pleasant events schedule. And that pleasant event schedule could be things that you want to do. You want to spend time with your spouse, where you want to go and do little things. But try to also remember, try to keep them realistic. You know, I know we're all going to put down, want to go to a tropical island, but we can't do that yet. So try to put down just some little things that you know are realistic that you can do. All right. Try to do this. Create that you list. All right. And if you don't find any positive ways to cope, you'll suffer from the negative ones. I'm not going to say that you're not going to have negative things happen. I'd be sitting here and I'd be lying to you, okay? but you've got to let some of the positive things in. You've got to try to find them. You've got to do something for you, okay? So all I'm asking is that you try to come up with 6 ways that you can have a positive thing that might help take some pressure off, okay? And here's some things that I've kind of come up with. Okay, so my list is in a few seconds. I want you to look at the list, and you could include reading a book, listening to music, taking a long bath or shower. I don't know about you ladies, but I can take a shower for up to 45 minutes because just the warmth and just being able to stand in there and think and just listening to the water. I love the ocean, so believe it or not, listening to the shower falling and things like that from the rain shower, top of it. It calms me. It's soothing. Writing, painting, or anything else that is creative that you enjoy doing. Sometimes praying or going to church or temple is soothing for people, exercising, getting outdoors and enjoying nature. Now, I'll exercise, but I'm not a nature buff. But some people love to hike and they love to go looking at animals and things like that, bird watching, things like that. Talking to a close friend, maybe talking to somebody you haven't talked to in a long, long time. And eating that meal without any interruptions. Remember I said to you, my coworker who eats dinner at 10 o'clock at night when her kids are in bed, okay? It's very important. And then these are some things that you could try to add to a U list, but you might have other things, so I'm just coming up with some ideas here. So on that U list, it could be exercise, yoga, stretch, trail running, breathe and meditation, laughing, like I said, just laughing. Music, many of you have pointed out music on here, and blasting the music and cleaning the house. I'm guilty of that. I blast the music, I go around cleaning, or sometimes when my husband's home and the kids are in the house, I'll put my headset on and go around and blast it in my ears. And man, I get the house done quicker when I got music in my ears, but it's just me, my own little world. I'm doing my thing and no stress, okay? And reading, but reading stuff that is not disability related. We are all guilty of that we tend to read things. And I have always said that, when my son was growing up, I would have literally, and I'm not joking, a copy of the regulations next to my bed. That was my reading material. I would be reading the regulations. I would be reading different policies and things like that and state and federal laws. But you know what? It wasn't healthy. Everything was disability related, okay? You know what somebody gave me one day to read, and I kind of was like, I can't read this? They gave me 50 Shades of Grey. Somebody said, here, you need to read this. And I was like, I can't do that. But you know what? I did. So it's finding different things to read, not disability related. And then sitting down, writing some thank you notes to people or letters of gratitude to people or friends that you haven't seen and maybe you aren't able to talk to that you want to write a letter to. Send an email to, whatever the case may be. Find some things to add to your list. So what I want to ask Jen right now real quick, because we've still got some time, I want to know, and I'm going to, it could be Jen or Kara, it doesn't matter. I want somebody to I want each person, if they would not mind, to put one thing in the chat box that they're going to try to do as a way to do something positive for themselves.
Tina, we've been getting all sorts of great ideas coming in of adult coloring books with mandalas and being able to then put it on the fridge with the kids' homework, diamond art and something, kayaking. And we had a lot about just playing out in the outdoors, taking some time away, crafting time, laying in their backyard when it's warm to soak up the sun. That's huge, especially here in New York.
Yeah.
And then we have gardening, getting more physically active, photography, birding, getting a massage or pedicure. Danielle, I'm right there with you. Let's plan that. And just getting some positive affirmations.
Good. See, that's what I want to hear. I want to hear that you're listening to what I'm saying and that you're thinking about you. But you can write all these things down, but now you need to take one thing and go do it. Okay? Go for that walk. Go for that kayak. Go have those nails done. You know, do something for you Don't just get off this webinar or the Zoom meeting today and just say, oh, I'm going to put it aside. You need to try to commit. This is how you're going to help yourself to learn to de-stress and take time for you, okay? So that's very important. Kara, thank you very much for reading those, and I'm so excited to hear all of these things. And you know, I think I'm going to take some of the I didn't think about it, but the manicure and the pedicure, I'm going to add them to my PowerPoint because I haven't thought about that in a while, so I'll have to do that. COVID, just never thought about the nails. So fostering resilience in our children, parents as first teachers. We are our kids' first teachers, okay? Our children learn how to cope with life challenges through our examples. So the more that we stress over things, guess what? Our kids see it. We need to learn how to cope with certain things so that our kids aren't seeing us always stressed out. Whether they hear us talking about, you know, there's a meeting coming up and we're upset about it, or we don't like something, or we want this, or we want that. We need to learn that we are our children's role models, okay? We are the ones that are teaching them the basic skills of walking, eating, playing, and we're also teaching them how to act as human beings and how to deal with stress and challenges in life. So we need to learn how to take care of our stress so that we can show our children how to deal with stress. And that is very, very important to learn how to do, because we are the role models for them and they're watching. I don't care what any disability is. Our kids are really smart. They watch and they can sense when we're upset, we're not upset. They know our feelings. Our children just know when something is not right with us. So I have literally learned over the years to not, you know, if I'm upset about something, I want, you know, I'll sit and I'll talk to my son about it, you know, what's got mommy upset and things like that. I want him to know that it's okay to have feelings, that it's okay, you know, that if he's stressed about something, let's try to talk about it, you know, if he didn't like something that happened. But I want him to role model things that I'm doing to the best that he can. It may not be exactly what I'm doing, but to the best that he can. Because life is going to throw challenges at him all the time because he's not always with me. He's out in the community, and I want him to also learn how to deal with that and cope with those challenges. All parents share one thing in common. We all want what is best for our children. We want the best teachers. We want the best therapists. We want the best doctors, and we want the best support staff. Now, this is the only time that you will ever hear me say the word best, because during the regulations and all my special education stuff, I never say the best. I always say appropriate, because that's the term. But for the purposes of this presentation, as parents, we all want the best for our kids, okay? You always want to give your kids something more than what you had growing up, okay? I think we all strive for that. And that's something we are all always trying to do for our kids, is to make sure that they have the best of everything, okay? But remember, you may not find the best. You may not find that perfection. You might find it's okay, and it's all going to be good. But to get all of this, we need to know how to work together. We need to know how to deal with the stressors that are going to come our way, how we can learn to de-stress from ourselves so that we can have these things for our children and for ourselves. But how often do you ever stop to consider if our child deserves a parent who is at their best? Think about that again. But how often do we stop to consider if our children deserve a parent who is at their best? Self-care is a divine responsibility. We cannot give what we don't have. Friends don't let friends do silly things alone. You need to think about what I just read. You need to take care of yourself so that your children can have the best parent in front of them, who is psychologically and physically and mentally ready to deal with the day. And by learning to take care of yourself, you are giving that to your child and to your family. The more you run yourself into the ground, the more you burn yourself out, you're not giving your family the best version of you. I have been guilty of that. So I'm trying to share to you the things that I've learned, and working with lots of families, it's now making sure that we take care of ourselves, to take care of our family, to take care of the other people that we're working with in the communities. When we are able to effectively manage stress in our lives, then we have something to give to our important parenting role. And here, this image, she made a date with someone she no longer neglected. And oh, what a glorious day she had with herself. When's the last time you've ever just gone shopping with yourself? Just you, peace, quiet, you. I've done that. So make a date with yourself. Go have that manicure and pedicure by yourself. Relax. Let that chair massage you. Do what it needs to do. Ask your husband or a friend or mom, dad, mother-in-law, father-in-law to watch the kids for a little while. To keep from cheating our families, we must take care of ourselves. The better care you take care of yourself, the better off your family will be. Mirror, mirror on the wall, I'll always get up after I fall. And whether I run, walk, or have to crawl, I'll set my goals and achieve them all. You will only achieve them all if you learn to take care of yourself, ladies and gentlemen. And that is so very important. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see everybody. That is my presentation. I am hoping that it has helped you all. I am more than willing to open it up to chat if other people want to share some things that are stressing them out. We've got a half an hour. So Jen, Kara, if you guys would like to come on, we can talk about some things that people would like. I just think it's important to share.
So from the chat, just from your last few slides, there was some really great conversation about, you know, things that people find therapeutic. So someone had said that they find mowing their lawn therapeutic, and I think that's a great idea. I have a huge yard. One of my favorite things to do is get on my riding lawnmower with my headphones on and music playing and just ride my riding lawnmower. That's one thing that my kids can't get on with me. So I'm by myself. So I just get on my lawnmower and go. So let's see. Kara, do you see anything else in the chat that pops out at you?
The only thing that popped out to me is one participant shared a little bit about how their little one will give them hugs because they can just sense it. And I just wanted to share, like, there's something really special about the power of hugs. And our kids do pick up on way more than we give them credit for and that probably we're aware of. So those hugs are extra special and I think really great when we can make sure that we can give that reassurance of we're there for each other, because sometimes that's what we most need, is just to know we're not alone.
Mm-hmm. We had someone else jump in and said, thank you for the presentation. They appreciate your candidness, your humor, and your empowering suggestions. So
thank you. I mean, I'm just trying to share what I've learned over the years, and if it can help somebody in some way, shape, or form, great. And I love all your ideas and suggestions. I think I'm going to start to add some of them to my PowerPoint. I never thought about the mani-pedi. So we all share different things. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. But I just want to comment about what Kara just said, and the person who commented about the hugs. Hugs can be extremely therapeutic. When my son knows, and he's 35, when he knows, he can just sense if I'm not having a good day, and he'll come up to me and he will just give me this huge hug, just a huge hug. And you know what? It is therapeutic. And those little things, they don't cost anything. They're free, and they are the most therapeutic, healing thing in the world. And the more you can get those hugs, do it, because when they're little, they love to give them. He's 35. He doesn't always like to do a hug here and there. So the more you can get them, get them. So I don't know. Would anybody like to make a comment? Jenny, I don't know.
Well, we had another person say they wish that there were more opportunity support. So for support, and I kind of wanted to share a little bit about how this particular workshop came about when we were planning for this series. And it came about because as the three of us were getting together and talking about what kind of workshops we could put together, we had this conversation about the stress of working full-time and also parenting full-time and working remotely, and how stressful that was, trying to do 3 full-time jobs all at the same time and feeling like we weren't doing a good enough job at all 3 of them, and the amount of guilt that came with that, and how important it is that you have to take time for yourself during that process. And that really drove what brought us to having Tina give us this great presentation today. So, you know, I really appreciate Tina's time and you guys coming to join us for this workshop today. It was tremendously helpful. We have another person that says, my 18-year-old daughter gave me a mani-pedi for Mother's Day. Oh, that's awesome. She told me we are going together too, because she's afraid that I'll never go. So
I think that's awesome. It truly is. That's awesome. I should have thought of something like that, doing mani-pedi. See, I'm fixated on that now.
Well, and I think too, the important part in that is that her daughter's going to go to kind of give her that accountability piece of that. She's going to take that time. I have a best friend that I will sometimes go with pre-COVID, and she would come literally to make sure that I was not trying to sneak work in on my cell phone, since I'd have my cell phone with me. It was a no cell phone zone. And we need those people to help us with things like that and to help us unplug. And I just wanted to share, as we're talking and answering final questions, we put a SurveyMonkey link in the chat. If you wouldn't mind clicking on that, we are grant funded, and this helps us to keep on getting these trainings.
Oh, Carrie,
you shut yourself off.
So if you can complete that survey, that would be wonderful, as it helps our funders to realize that we're getting this information out. And we also really appreciate just hearing your feedback and your thoughts of what you think about the presentation.
I'd like to thank Kara and Jen for, you know, dealing with the questions behind the scenes. It was great. I normally don't have that luxury, so I really, really do appreciate it. And for everybody being here and all of the comments and the participation with my questions. I really appreciate it. You made my day. You made me smile. You made my day. My back doesn't hurt, so, but I'm still going to get it looked at. Why? Because I got to take care of myself.
You should. So before we let everybody go, there is one more comment. It's just a reminder that mediation and conflict coaching are great options for any time that you are experiencing any kind of conflict in any communication that you're having. And we do want to let everybody know that this is part 1 of a 3-part series. We will be getting together in 2 weeks on, I believe,
I had the date. Oh, wait, I got it.
May 25th.
May 25th.
Yep. So we will be getting together on May 25th, and we will be hearing a presentation from Kara Georgi from Starbridge, who you've heard from today. She's going to be giving us a presentation on collaborative communication. And this series training is brought to you from a partnership from 4 different agencies. So this is from Families Together in New York State and the Central New York Parent Partners, with Tina's wonderful agency, Parent to Parent in New York State, Kara's wonderful agency, Starbridge, and last but not least, my agency, Northern Regional Center for Independent Living. So again, if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to reach out to us through email. The link for the survey is in the chat, so we definitely appreciate your feedback. And if nobody has any other questions, then we're going to go ahead and let you all go. This webinar was recorded. It will be available at a later date and time. We will let you know as soon as we have it up and running. And we will have certificates available as well, and a copy of the PowerPoint presentation will be going out shortly. So again, thank you all for coming. We appreciate your time and your feedback, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.